What is the future for Gaza? Netanyahu let it slip. So many of us are saying, look, they are clearly expelling these people. They're clearly going to try to annex the territory or occupy and take over the territory. That is their goal. Netanyahu let it slip in an interview with ABC World News Tonight. He says Israel does intend to occupy Gaza. Watch this.
President Biden has said that it would be a mistake for Israel to occupy Gaza. Who should govern Gaza when this is over?
Those who don't want to continue the way of Hamas. It certainly is not. I think Israel will, for an indefinite period, will have the overall security responsibility, because we've seen what happens when we don't have it. When we don't have that security responsibility, what we have is the eruption of Hamas terror on a scale that we couldn't imagine.
Okay, so there he's saying we're going to indefinitely, Israel will, for an indefinite period, have the overall security responsibility in Gaza, because we've seen what happens when we don't have that security responsibility. So they intend to occupy Gaza. Just look, that is actually a better situation. I mean, it's not ideal, it's not great, but it is better than what was going on with Gaza. Gaza is absolutely worse off than the West Bank. The West Bank is occupied, Gaza is not, and Gaza has been worse off for it because they've been blockaded. So if they were to instead go back to an occupation, that would actually be better. It's still not what people are looking for, certainly not what the Palestinians are looking for. What's interesting about this, though, is that Antony Blinken, Secretary of State, has a completely different idea than Netanyahu and seems to signal the exact opposite, saying that Israel will not be occupying Gaza and that Israel does not want to occupy Gaza. So these two are not on the same page. Which is alarming that the United States and Israel are not on the same page on this when we're giving them $14 billion and that we've given them even billions more over the years. Blinken actually, before I play what Blinken has to say, the two of them are very much at odds. It's very clear. He's done. His career's over. The Israelis want him out. They want him to resign. They want him to take responsibility and go away. Netanyahu knows this. He knows that as soon as this war is done. He's finished. So he is an ideologue. Since Netanyahu started his political career when he was young, his idea is for Israel to be Israel from river to sea. It's in the charter. Talk about the charter, which is what they point to with Hamas. Well, they're calling for genocide because they say from river to sea, Palestine will be free. Well, the Likud charter, which is the political party that Benjamin Netanyahu's for, says the exact same thing. From river to sea, it'll all be Israel. That's what they claim. So Netanyahu has been an ideologue pushing for this from the beginning of his career. He single-handedly destroyed the Oslo Accords and any sort of any idea that there would be a Palestinian state. The Palestinians know this. The Palestinian government knows this. They know that Netanyahu is never negotiating in good faith. He is an ideologue. He has his ideas of what Israel should be, and he doesn't think there should be a Palestinian state unless that state exists in Jordan. That is Netanyahu's idea. So this is an ideologue who doesn't want to go down in shame, right? He has served as prime minister of this country for nearly 2 decades, and he does not want to go out with a black mark on his record. What he wants to do is ensure that he at least reaches his final goals, that he gets more territory for Israel, that he's able to make it one big cohesive nation. He talked about annexing the West Bank, and now he's, in a way, talking about annexing Gaza. He's admitting he's going to go and annex Gaza. He's going to be taking it over, as he's expelling all of these people south and then saying he's going to be occupying indefinitely. So we're dealing with a madman, is what the United States is dealing with. We're dealing with a madman, a man who's an ideologue with an agenda, and he's hell-bent on doing it before he ends his tenure as prime minister, because he wants to go down as a hero. And if he can get that, if he could pull that off, if he can actually make Israel one big nation, then he will go down as a hero. They will put statues up of Netanyahu in the future. They will. But the United States has a very different idea. Blinken looks, when you watch this, I want you to pay attention to the way Blinken looks. He looks defeated. Honestly, he looks like he actually does care about what's going on in Gaza. He is probably sick about it. This is a guy that spent his whole career. He was Undersecretary of State in the Obama administration. He went on to found a company called West Exec Advisors, where they're really big on drone warfare, targeted over the horizon drone warfare, very targeted warfare. So this is somebody who believes in targeted warfare, That is what he spent his whole career building. And now he's watching Israel do carpet bombing World War II style, essentially going back to that type of warfare. And I'm sure it's disturbing to him, even though he's still a warmonger, but he's a different kind of warmonger. And so he looks defeated. He looks like he's shaken by what he's seeing in Gaza. And he understands, when you listen to this, he does understand what the solution needs to be. And it is not in line with Netanyahu. Watch this.
We also know that Israel cannot reassume control and responsibility for Gaza. And it's important to note that Israel has made clear it has no intention or desire to do that. So within those parameters, we are and will continue to have discussions with partners throughout the region and well beyond about what should follow once Hamas is defeated. There are a number of possibilities, permutations, but it's really premature to get into any detail about that. As important is putting this into a bigger picture, a bigger vision of how we achieve enduring and lasting peace and security in the region. And as I said earlier, the United States is convinced, we have been for some time, and I think we're only reinforced in that conviction since October 7th, that the best path, maybe even the only path, as I said, is through two states for two peoples. Again, that is the only way to ensure lasting security for a Jewish and democratic Israel, the only way to ensure that the Palestinians achieve their legitimate aspirations for a state of their own. This is about dealing with Hamas in terms of defeating it physically. That is making sure that it can't repeat what it did on October 7th. But it is also about defeating an idea, a perverted idea, but an idea that we have to combat with a better idea, with a better future, with a better vision for what that future can be, and demonstrating that we're committed to achieving that future, that vision. Because in the absence of that, even after Hamas, those who sing the siren song of nihilism will find open ears. So it's imperative in our judgment that not only is Hamas dealt with in a way that October 7th can never be repeated, but that we lay out a clear vision and a path to achieve that vision that gives people something to hope for, to buy into, to grab onto. And I believe that there is a broad and strong coalition throughout the region that wants to do exactly that. All of these countries are on one side of the equation. Who's on the other side of the equation? Hamas, Hezbollah, and Iran. So it's incumbent upon us, I think, not only to lay out that vision, but to be clear about the ways that we propose to achieve it. This is not flipping a light switch, needless to say, given how deep-rooted and enduring these problems are. But we have to address this, and we have to address it in concrete ways and with determination. Because again, it comes back to exactly what you said. We have to demonstrate that we have a better idea and a way to achieve it.
Hey, he's right. And yeah, that is exactly what needs to happen. He is absolutely right that the Palestinian people need a better idea than they don't have any hope except to just fight for freedom. They need to be given hope. They need to be given a brighter future. And he's absolutely right that the way to combat the bad idea of, well, we're just going to fight our way out of this is to give them a better idea, which is hope for a better future. That is 100% what needs to happen. What's interesting about this, though, is that is very much at odds with Netanyahu. And my suspicion, and it's just a suspicion, is that the U.S. government also knows Netanyahu is on his way out. And they might be even talking behind the scenes with other lawmakers in Israel who Netanyahu is a very extreme far-right leader There are many in Israel who are wanting a political solution. They are wanting a two-state political solution that brings about genuine peace. And it sounds to me like perhaps Anthony Blinken is talking to those leaders, knowing that Netanyahu's days are numbered. The question is if they can limit Netanyahu in the meantime, if they could curb him. And even if he does clear Gaza, and even if he does push all the people south and he tries to annex the region, and he's desperately trying to hold on to power, when they get him out of there, perhaps the new leaders who are genuinely looking for peace and security for their own children, for their own safety, they might say, hey, let's help rebuild, get an international coalition in there to help rebuild and bring the Gazans back to a better future and genuinely have a two-state solution for the Palestinians. That is what absolutely needs to happen. So we will see, but that Blinken, that was a few days ago. This was 4 days ago that he did that press conference from Tel Aviv. It does give me a little bit of hope that there are some sane people who are talking about we can't just eradicate them or move them. This is Netanyahu's talk, his type of talk. Move them, eradicate them, push them to Egypt, push them to Jordan, just get rid of these people. And instead, Anthony Blinken, who is a very staunch advocate for Israel himself, is actually saying, like, he sounds defeated. And I think a lot of Israelis feel defeated. I think they feel like the only that Netanyahu's way, in fact, if you read the Israeli news, they acknowledge that Netanyahu's path was the wrong one, that it led them down the wrong path, that this idea of radical expulsion or radically making their lives miserable to the point where they would want to leave, or hoping that the international community would sweep in and say, oh my gosh, the humanitarian crisis is so negative, so terrible, we'll take in these refugees. That's a way to get rid of these people, is to put pressure on the international community to take them because their situation is so dire. That was Netanyahu's plan, and it didn't work. It backfired big time in their faces. And now I think they've been humbled by this experience and also by the world's cries about treatment of the Palestinians and how this has been going on for 75 years, and that the cycle of abuse needs to stop. And I think that we're starting to see them listen. And that's bringing some hope to the situation. So I do have a little hope, but we will see as time goes on how things go. People are still dying. I think every 20 seconds or something in Gaza, somebody dies. I don't know what the stat is, but it's a lot. 10,000 people have been killed, and more are still dying, and would like to see this end, and soon, absolutely, before the death toll gets just even worse than it already is.